Good evening, everyone. I am going to talk to you today a little bit about the paradoxical nature of reality, and I want to explain it in a way so that you actually understand how reality can be paradoxical in nature. We are multidimensional beings, right? Most of you are aware of this. We have our physical self, which is tangible and right here, but we also have versions of ourselves in every density and dimension. So you understand this, I need to explain to you the difference between dimension and density. When we're talking about a dimension, we are talking about not a place, we're talking about a state of consciousness. We can be right here in a physical body, but also be holding and by the way, this is a third density physical body. That's what physical is, third density, or physical realm. Third dimension is the state of consciousness. So when we're third dimensional in consciousness, that means our awareness is third dimensional. That means we are in a dense state of polarity where it's like good, bad, right, wrong, us, God. Everything is separate. Everything is polarized. There's a magnetic positive and negative. As we evolve from there, it seems like in the fourth dimension, the lower part of it, the polarity actually gets stronger, but you flip back and forth, and then it starts to dissolve a little bit, and then it dissolves a whole lot, but not all the way by fifth dimension. The important part of what I'm saying is that these are states of consciousness, where when I talk about density, I'm talking about a realm. So the realm is the layers of reality. So density is the layers of reality, of physicality, where third density is the most gross. It has the densest form. And as we move to fourth density, it's lighter, it's a different spectrum of light, and then even lighter and even more vast on the spectrum of light, fifth density, until between seventh, eighth, there's really no form. Hopefully that helps you understand the difference. Dimension is the state of awareness or consciousness, and density is the realm. We have different versions of self in every density, in every form. We also have different versions of self in dimension. Everything that we ever have been or will be already exists and still exists somewhere. One of the paradoxes, which I think is the foundation for pretty much all the other ones, is the fact that we are separate, we are also one. When we're here, third density, everything is separate. And when we have that third dimension of consciousness, we are very aware of that separation. Even if we are third density and raise ourselves to a higher dimension of consciousness, whether it's fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, our awareness feels the interconnectedness more. Perhaps we're able to unify our consciousness even if we're real high up there and really be connected into the collective unconscious and tap into it and retrieve information. But at the same time, we're all very individual, we're all very separate. If I stand next to another person, I can see the difference between my body and their body. There is separation. But as we move up in different versions of ourself, we begin to expand more. Our bodies actually get larger. They tend to get larger. And again, they're less physical, but they're more static and larger. And at our purest form, at the highest form we could be in this universe, we are source or creator, where everything is one thing. Literally everything is one thing. There is no individuality. Everything is so balanced and unified. There's no different colors. Everything's in perfect balance. It's all this, I want to say white light, because that's what we know as the most balanced color, but really it's a color off the spectrum, of our visible spectrum. It's perfect balance where everything is one thing. And so that's how we are all one, but we are also all separate, because both of these things are existing simultaneously in the same moment. And if you can understand that, then you can understand the next one, which I feel like has a little bit more of a practical application. And that's when I'm sure you've heard people say everything is perfect. You're perfect but imperfect. And it's like, you're telling me everything's perfect? I was stuck in a hot car all day in traffic. I'm sweating. I stink. I think I have a zit growing on my nose. And guess what? I have a $500 electric bill and $400 in the bank. So how are you going to tell me that things are perfect? Those are all perceived imperfections. There are things in our reality that could go not as we want them to go. But this is a place where we chose to come before we incarnated. It is a place where we chose to go through this veil of amnesia, to play this game, to participate in this game of karma and polarity and duality. And so in choosing to participate in this game, and I'm calling it a game as a metaphor, it's really more like a training ground, a really intense training ground, but it helps lighten it up to call it a game. We sign up here to have free will. We can't truly have free will and be directly told what to do. We can't have free will and get to participate in this experience where we're blind to who we are, truly who we were, what our mission is, what our life's purpose is, all of the things. And that makes this a particularly challenging reality. And now that being, I also want to tie in the fact that our thoughts, our words, and our beliefs create our reality, along with the grounded choices, the grounded actions to go around with that, to go along with that. You take the fact that we can't, because of the nature of what we signed up for, which we don't remember, and that's kind of batty, right? The reason why our thoughts, beliefs, and choices create our reality is, first of all, that's because how things work. The universe is made of mind, and we're graduating to a level where we can materialize a lot more quickly than we do here. So throughout this process, we're here to gain mastery over our thoughts and our beliefs and our words. Because one of the most dangerous powers you could have is just instant manifestation or materialization, because then your thoughts can create who knows what. If you don't have full mastery over your thoughts, I could hurt someone, and that's not cool. Again, I'm going back. We come here to go through this veil of amnesia. And because we go through this veil of amnesia and we don't remember who we are and how reality works, we don't remember what our mission and purpose is, that's why our thoughts, beliefs, and words create our reality, and our choices, of course, need to align also with what we want to create, right? And so this is why everything's perfect. Because we can't be told directly what to do because of free will. And so we have to rely on the feedback that we get from our reality. You understand? When we're getting a certain type of feedback, it leads us to a point B. Let me clarify this a little more. Say there's a pattern at play. Let's say that pattern is something that actually happened to me, and it's substance abuse. And now, this is actually a great example because I really took this as far as I could. The worst was when I was addicted to benzodiazepines, and I knew that I had to stop. I was at a point where they weren't even helping me. And I even knew in the beginning that I should probably not just sleep less and not take it, but it was just too difficult for me at the time. And so this pattern was emerging. And I stuck with this for like 7-8 years, where it was that I had this pattern where I would just feel like I couldn't sleep, and I would take it to sleep. And of course I'd feel in the beginning a little bit better, and I'd sleep and everything. And eventually I'd take it and I'd get a little bit of sleep and I would not feel better. I would still be shaking. I would still feel horrible. And that real horrible part probably went on for about 2 years, where it was like, I need to get help, but I was scared to get help. I kept on making the choice to keep doing it rather than break the cycle. And I kept on my conditions kept on getting worse and worse because I kept on refusing to break the cycle. And yet it was perfect that my conditions were getting worse and worse. Even though it was very unpleasant for me, even though it was painful for me, it was perfect. Why? Because those discomforts, those pains, those worsening conditions or would eventually finally put me into a place where I felt as though I had no choice. And I said, I just have to stop. And when I stopped, I was in a position where I couldn't get into a detox. I was on a very high dose of Ativan and given 3.5 milligrams to taper off by myself. No support whatsoever. And that's probably the worst way to do it. The worst way to do it. But it was my choice points that led me to that place. And so that was perfect for me. There are two reasons why you will be progressively handed worse and worse situations and have certain choice points, and maybe things get worse when you choose one choice point, yet it's still perfect. One being there's a karmic pattern at play. You're not transcending the pattern, right? And so the pattern keeps on repeating, and the pattern that's repeating gets more and more unpleasant each time it repeats, or it gets louder and louder each time it repeats. And this isn't to torture you. It's so you finally say, all right, enough is enough. I need to never do this again. And then you finally decide, boom, I've had it. I'm never going to let myself be in that situation again. And then, which is perfect. And if we were to get it before that, before things got so bad, that would be perfect too. Because every time we choose to zig where we should have zagged, it's still perfect, because the fact that we still chose to zig shows us that we needed more experience in order to zag. I think I said that right, but I think you guys, even if I didn't, I think y'all know what I mean. The other thing is, the other reason, which is I think karmic falls under this umbrella. The other reason, and I just want to say karma, in case you haven't seen my karma talks or my karma videos, karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma are the structures in place under the Piscean laws that are meant to give us the universal feedback through these patterns to become aware of our interconnection and reach divine consciousness. So once we've reached divine consciousness, we can declare ourselves free of the Piscean law of karma. You understand? Karma is not a punishment. It's not like, oh, I did bad, so now bad is going to happen to me. It's through certain choices and certain patterns, certain thoughts, certain ways of being, we either show that we are embodying divine consciousness more, or doing the opposite. And when we're doing the opposite, the karma, those lessons are going to trigger, and it's going to come back and try to give us the experience we need to enter into a consciousness of divinity, or like a unity consciousness, to understand our oneness and our ripple effect with all that is, the interconnection with all that is. It's all for us. Everything's for us. I always say that nothing happens to us. Everything happens for us. Even the challenges and the obstacles, from the highest of perspectives, or looking at it from that higher view, even if we can only reach that level of consciousness for a couple of minutes, we could see that even our biggest opposers, if we're doing what we need to do to the highest, they can only be catalysts for our evolution. And so even the stuff that is unpleasant is perfect, right? I hope you're getting it, because this viewpoint of, wow, everything is perfect, it's so liberating. And I feel like whenever I have an aura photo camera, and whenever I enter into that state, my center color goes either blue or violet. That's a big part of holding that Christ consciousness, is understanding that everything is perfect in this moment. And so that's very powerful. Of course, from this point of view down here, it's all imperfect and icky and messy and stuff like that. But from a higher perspective, where we're trying to go, you could see that it's all perfect. And that's another paradox. It's imperfect, but it's also perfect. Nothing was created imperfect, and nothing we could do could be imperfect, because it's leading us to the next choice point that is perfect for us. Let's say there's a person who gets into very unsatisfying relationships, and they always choose the same type of relationship, and maybe they enter into it too quick, and they put themselves, they end up losing their sense of self because they're not speaking up. It's what's going to happen in that kind of pattern is, each time they enter into a different relationship, at first they're just going to get hurt a little more, and then hurt a little more, and then it's going to become more a thing where they start to get frustrated because it's going to get like that, and finally it's going to seem like they're having just really horrible luck in relationships, but what's really happening is that their matrix is wanting to relieve that karmic pattern and learn that karmic lesson, right? So those situations are going to present themselves with more and more intensity. Each time they finally say, you know what, I am done with that pattern. I am done with that pattern. I love myself too much to participate in this type of container anymore. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. And now the takeaway from this is, because everything's perfect, we can really take a look at when something shows up in our life that is wonderful and it's easy to have gratitude, then we show gratitude and tell the universe, yes, 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 I love this. I want more of this. This is satisfying to me. I want it. I love it. And that attracts more of it to you. On the other side of things, if there's things showing up that are leaving you frustrated, unsatisfied, drained, your life's kind of like swimming against the current. Why isn't this easier? Then you want to really sit back and evaluate what's showing up for me. Why is this showing up for me? What inside me is this reflecting? Is it some kind of disharmony that's inside that's being reflected in front of me? Is it a pattern that's showing up, a pattern that I'm familiar with? Maybe I just need to think on it a little bit. What's the lesson? Once you learn the lesson, you can release it. Once you identify the pattern, once you choose differently, you break that pattern and release it. Sometimes there's a lesson to learn and integrate if it's not a karmic pattern. Usually it's some form of pattern. Sometimes it's a lesson. What do I need to learn? Once you find out what you need to learn, we can understand that down here, our opposers are our opposers, right? They're the ones that our life is more difficult around. But from a higher perspective, we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because we know that they signed up, even though they don't even remember it. They signed up before incarnation to play this role in our lives, that we can learn and we can evolve. And with that awareness, then we could really, really release it and be, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for providing this experience to me and helping me reach a higher level of mastery. And from there, you can really, really, that is really the icing on the cake with releasing something. And then taking whatever grounded action comes. There are certain things like the relationship thing. Maybe you want to take a few months off of dating and kind of really focus on yourself. I highly recommend that. I've taken at one point a year of celibacy, and that's when I was like 19, and it was so healing and really taught me what I wanted. And I did that again for like a year and a half, and then just last year, 9 months. That was not super long, but it was still very helpful for me. I needed to do a lot of healing at that time. I was diverging there. Of course, if there's, like I was saying before, if it's a substance, you want to take the time, the grounded action to participate in your recovery. And that's what I mean by grounded action. Maybe I've also had certain patterns with food. I have kind of a food issue. I'm a super clean eater, but I'm an ex-addict. I've quit smoking cigarettes. I have sacrificed a lot of things in order to liberate myself and reach a higher state of well-being. And so the last thing has been food. And I'm a clean eater. But even homemade brownies, I'll totally overeat those and give myself a really bad tummy ache. Right? So if I'm trying to transcend this pattern of eating so many brownies every night during my cycle that I can't move the next day, I might want to take the grounded action to make some kind of substitute if I ever have that craving and have something else. There's like the mind stuff to do, and also the grounded action part is what I'm trying to say. And again, something like that bellyache doesn't feel good, but it's perfect because it teaches me, don't eat a ton of brownies. They're not good for you. Everything is perfect. Reality is a paradox because we're multidimensional. And it depends what dimension of consciousness you are operating from on, what actually, how you see things, what your perception is. And so as we raise up to a higher state of consciousness and expand in that way, we don't leave behind anything. We expand to see more. For instance, if your awareness is 7th dimension, it's not like you're not aware of the 1st dimension. You're aware of 1 through 7. it's an expansion, not like an elevator where you're leaving the first floor and going to the seventh. It's an expansion where you're encompassing everything. I hope I was clear enough in this, and I thank whoever was tuning in. This one I feel is only going to be for YouTube and my little group, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is actually one of the chapters in the book that I'm almost finished with. I'll be releasing it on Saturday. It's little, it's gonna be free, and I'm just happy to have accomplished it, and I'm proud of it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. And I am beaming with joy just because I feel good about things. I was actually going to talk about Atlantis today because I had a really cool Atlantis trip, but I feel like I need to integrate it a little bit more, and I'm excited to share that very soon too. And with that, remember, you're perfect. Everything you do is perfect, and it's giving you the exact experience that you need, and you'll be perfect in the next moment too. And from my perfect little heart to yours, I send you so much love. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful night, day, afternoon, whatever it is for you.